Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. That's my second video today. Earlier I touched on a few social issues in our society, how they implement fear into society by mitigating an armed presence in our streets, a constant armed presence because of the false flag terrorist attacks that are happening worldwide in our cities. They basically do this to install fear in society. They also do it now, basically, now and in the future. They're going to implement a permanently armed presence on our streets. They will do this in order to convince the public into thinking this is a safe and responsible use of their security forces to ensure our personal safety and security. But to be completely honest with you, it's not. It has nothing to do with that. For a government who are prepared to initiate false flag attacks on their own citizens, obviously citizens die in these attacks as well. You cannot trust a government who does that, and you certainly cannot trust having an armed presence on your streets permanently all the time with live weapons, obviously, live rounds. Not very good for your health when people start pulling triggers, believe me or no. So we've got these people in positions of power. These people in positions of power determine our future, and by this I mean that every action controls everything that we do in our daily lives. There is no oversight. We have no say in what they do or what they can do. They basically do whatever pleases them at that particular moment in time that will benefit them. It's not going to benefit society, but it will benefit them. It gives them more power over society. It installs more fear in society, so people will accept these changes in our society as normal and accept it for all of our own good, of course, because they never harm us, because they're our government. We vote for them, and our interests are always at the heart of politicians. Yes, people hiding behind positions of power in government. This is what they do. They sit behind their desk in their shirt and tie. They're very smart, present themselves to the media and to the public as being responsible servants of the public. But really all they're doing is they're sat behind a desk and they're plotting your demise. That's it, simple as that. People who speak out about these politicians and people in positions of power tend to disappear. That's another thing that people need to realise. If you speak out about these things, if you make it public knowledge, if you start to be a bit of an annoyance to them, they'll find a way to take care of that situation, i.e., oh, look, he had an accident, he hung himself, he hit himself on the head with an elephant, just some ridiculous suicide. He jumped off a balcony, even though he was psychologically stable, didn't have any problems with family or anything. The family said he was perfect, nothing wrong with him. All of a sudden he went on holiday and decided to jump off the balcony because just seemed the thing to do at the time. Doesn't work that way. He was shot in the head, he shot himself in the head or something, or hung himself, or committed suicide in some other completely ridiculous way. Yet, if you do speak out about these things and you become a problem for these people, they are going to initiate protocols to take care of that particular problem that they're having, i.e. you, me, anybody else who talks about the programmes. Yeah, people in positions of power in government, they hide behind their desk. I mean, let's look at another way. How much oversight do politicians have? How much political oversight? How much oversight from the courts of law do politicians have? How closely are their activities monitored? They're just not, because everybody trusts their politicians, okay? Wouldn't vote for them otherwise. I mean, personally, I don't vote anymore. I don't trust any of them, and they all promise this and promise that, but deliver absolutely fucking nothing except death, destruction, misery, and carnage. That's what politicians do. So, no. So, what can we do? What can we do as members of the public, members of society, to stop these people from what they're doing? Well, we can initiate a number of protocols, personally. We can get out onto the streets. We can do public interviews. We can walk with banners. We can walk through the streets and we can shout and make it known that we are not going to consent to what they're doing. Simple as that. If we don't get out on the street and we don't demonstrate and we don't let the politicians and the police and the people in authority know that we are not going to sit down and kiss our ass goodbye, we're not simply going to just give up because a totalitarian government tells us to, okay? We need to get out there and we need to demonstrate. We need to show these people that we are going to do something about it. We are not prepared to sit down and just ignore it. If not for yourself, for your children. Simple as that. Let's face it. I'm very glad that I'm growing up in the next generation, because, ladies and gentlemen, I don't see a very good future for the next generation. Okay, it's very, very sad. I was very lucky. I grew up in the 70s, and you know, I don't remember that much about the 60s, but I was around in the 60s. Obviously, I'm not a young guy anymore. I remember growing up. It was great. You know, we were happy. We were outside playing. It was clean air, and you see the cumulus clouds and the storm fronts coming in, and everything was beautiful. The summers were fantastic. It was hot, beautiful blue skies, not a single trail in the sky. We saw trails, yes, but they were just contrails. Everybody knows the difference between a contrail and a chemtrail, but not everybody wants to admit the difference between a contrail and a chemtrail. So we had fantastic summers. We had wonderful, happy memories, and I was very lucky to. I'm very lucky to have lived the years I've lived. Yes. My health may not be particularly good right now, but the future's the future. You know, I'm relatively confident. I'm not going to give up. I had a great childhood, and I was very lucky, which is more than I can say for a lot of the kids these days. You know, I feel so sorry for them. They have to breathe this crap in every time they go outside. You know, it's terrible. So it's a forced genocide. Parents need to be aware of this. They also need to be aware that the vaccinations which are being forced upon children now, it's not something which you can say, oh, well, you know, do you mind if I don't vaccinate my children? If you don't vaccinate your children, they'll do two things. Number one, they'll take away all of your social benefits. Every one of them. Number two, actually there's three. Number two, they will not allow your child to go to school, because he could pass on an infection to a vaccinated child who is protected against that disease in the first place. So that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But that's our society for you. Nonsensical. If your child is not vaccinated, they'll lose their benefits. All of their social money from the government will be stopped. Your child will be prevented from going to school. So you will have no choice but to educate your child at home, which is probably a better thing, actually, because what they teach you at school isn't exactly the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, ladies and gentlemen. It's classic indoctrination. They teach you what they want you to believe. Children grow up with the attitude in their lives that they understand everything about the world because they have been taught to specifically look at the world in a specific way. So we've got a theory they've been taught at school. This theory has been taught for a specific reason, okay? So they are indoctrinated into thinking that this is how this works, this theory is why this works, this is how gravity works, this is how this works. Chemtrails are not chemtrails, they're contrails. But there again, geoengineering is there to help everybody, so don't worry about it. It's not going to do you any harm, it's not going to harm you or your children. So, you know, we're going to normalise it, and we're going to put it in books and DVDs and videos and on the blackboard and everything else, so the children are indoctrinated into believing that geoengineering is a healthy option. My God, it's not healthy. It's killing every fucking one of you, and every one of your children as well. It is killing babies in the womb. Obviously, the woman breathes in these particles, so as particles go into the bloodstream, that blood is transferred into the baby. Where does the baby's blood come from? Yes. Where do the nutrients come from that the baby needs? The food, the liquids that she drinks, it all gets absorbed into the baby. And so does the aluminium, barium and strontium in her bloodstream, gets to the baby's brain and causes Alzheimer's before that fucking baby's even born. Now, that does make me angry. A very good friend of mine, her daughter's autistic. Okay, she's 23 years old, but she's 23 going on 10. Okay, her mental age is nowhere near 23. This was a premeditated assault on Maya, leaving her, my friend, leaving her absolutely no choice of how she is going to live her life. This was thrown onto her in the womb when her mother was pregnant. Yeah? It's not genetic. Please. Please don't insult my fucking intelligence. It has an outside catalyst. Autism is the same as cancer. It's a bloody condition. And about time fucking people start to wake up to this fact. It's a condition which is caused by an outside influence. That outside influence is aluminium, barium and strontium getting into the brain, the cerebellum, okay, the cortex, the neocortex, the hippocampus, all the parts of the brain that are predominantly affected by autism, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and a lot of other degenerative brain disorders, not brain diseases, okay? Don't fucking confuse these fucking things, please. The same as cancer. So these people in positions of power are basically deliberately harming you, your children, and your fucking babies before they're even born. You know, it's unbelievable. We need to expose them. To expose them, as I mentioned earlier, we need to get out onto the streets, we need to demonstrate, we need to let the people know that we're not going to tolerate this kind of behaviour. We do not consent to being poisoned on a daily basis. We do not consent to our taxes being paid to run these programs. Absolutely not, we don't. Okay? That you don't have my consent to do that. Okay? And you can try and fucking stop me. Come knock on my door and see what happens, motherfuckers. Yeah? You don't want to do that. I can fucking guarantee you. Now, another thing. Mobile phones. We all know that they get off RF radiation, or microwave radiation, okay? Smart meters give off approximately 300 times the radiation of a phone. Okay? This radiation causes all sorts of nasty things, but they cause brain cancer, basically. And these brain cancers are on a massive increase. RF signals basically interfere with the nerve cells in your brain. They cause mutations, and a tumour will appear. Smart meters are extremely dangerous. People are starting to realise and wake up to this fact. Some people are refusing to have them fitted in their houses for very good reasons. The reasons they're refusing to have these fitted is because they know the damage they're going to cause to themselves, their children, and their babies. You know, RF radiation is very nasty, very dangerous. It causes all sorts of problems in the brain, including obviously the brain cancers, the brain tumours, which are on a huge increase, primarily due to smart meters. Also, 5G towers now, the desk towers, they are causing enormous damage to people. People are getting ill and dying by the thousands because of these damn things, alright? They're put there for a reason. They're even hiding the fucking things in trees and painting them fucking green. Why would they do that if they were safe? Oh, does make me very angry. They continue to utilise these technologies to basically harm us as much as they can. Excuse me a second, just do some fucking caffeine to keep awake. They utilise these technologies to basically harm you and your children and the rest of society. So it's a silent cull. To kill us silently, without any responsibility being held to account for anybody, for no oversight, nothing. They can do it, they can get away with it. What a way to mitigate mass genocide than to use these technologies, including the heart facilities, which obviously can initiate earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, etc. Yeah, and cause mass devastation. They can cause massive hailstorms. Hail so big that it will kill you. It will crack your skull wide open if it hits you. We've seen 4 of these massive hailstorms. There have been 2 deaths. There have been numerous injuries, massive damage to cars and houses. And these storms have been initiated by the high frequency active auroral research programs, by directing specific radio frequency into weather systems, cause these hailstorms to happen deliberately, with malice, with intent to harm you and your property. So anyway, I can't really go into very much more at the moment, but just, to top this all off, brain tumours, glycomas, they are initiated in the brain by RF radiation, microwave radiation. In fact, any radiation causes cancer. I think we all are aware of this. It's direct RF waves are going straight into your brain, and it's horrific. Again, it's premeditated. Why would they use RF radiation, all this smart stuff, the nasty radiation in smart meters? I actually had an email from a friend of mine in Oregon, in the United States. He's saying that he never used microwaves. Basically, he used a microwave at one time. I think it was for warm his coffee up. We've all done that. I'm going to stop using the fucking things from now on, definitely. You warm that up. The microwaves get into the molecules of the water, the molecules of the liquid which is in your coffee. You drink that, those microwaves are actually stuck inside the water molecules and the air molecules inside that liquid when you drink it, and you can literally feel it like buzzing and popping, and that's the actual microwave radiation being released from the air bubbles and released from the water and air molecules in that particular drink you're drinking. So you're ingesting microwave radiation. Nice, yeah? I wonder why they actually invented microwave ovens in the first place. Just to heat your food? Have a think. All these technologies in the last 20 years, 25 years, have been invented for specific purposes, and I think those purposes are to harm us. Not to make our lives any easier, but to cause harm. But something that we all use. I'm using a phone now, obviously, to record this video. That's giving off RF radiation, so I'm being exposed to it all the time. Children, young kids, they're constantly on the phone like this all the time. You know, that is even more dangerous because that is basically transmitting that microwave, that RF radiation, straight into your brain. You know, I've got the phone here, so obviously I'm sat back. I'm about 3 or 4 feet away from the phone, so that's fine. You know, it's still not fine, but it's a damn sight safer than holding the thing to my ear for half an hour to an hour. Kids use their phones all the time. They know this. They know that children need to have this technology, so it's implemented in that way. All this nasty radiation and stuff is, in my humble opinion, a deliberate technology, deliberately actually implemented and invented to harm you, me, and your children. Anyway, that'll do for now. Ladies and gentlemen, have a very nice day, and I will speak to you later.